So let us start a new topic today, salary. Residential status we have covered. In residential status, we have covered both the portions of residential status. First part was how to determine the residential status, and second part was how to apply the concept of tax incidence, or you can say scope of total income as per section 5. So residential status has been covered in detail. Now you have to practice some questions. Later on you can practice those. Now today let us start a new topic, salaries. Salaries is the first head of income. We have total 5 heads of income: salaries, house property, PGBP, capital gains, and income from other sources. Salaries is the first head, and relevant also. Relevant in what sense? Because most of the people are in employment. So most of the people are getting salary. There may be one company, but in one company there may be 2 lakh employees. So all these 2 lakh people who are getting salary must know the provisions of this salary chapter. So company is also an assessee, but company is separate. So that single company may be one assessee. For example, in Reliance Industries, so RIL is also an assessee. Reliance Industries is also an assessee. But in RIL, for example, 2 lakh employees are working. So for these 2 lakh people, these are also assessees, and they will apply the provisions of salaries. RIL itself will apply the provisions of profits and gains of business and profession. Because RIL is not getting salary. RIL is earning income from business. So that is why the relevance of salary is that in this example, you can see one company, 2 lakh employees. So that one company has to study the provisions of PGBP, but these 2 lakh employees have to study the provisions of salary. So most of the people are filing their returns or showing the income as salary income, especially when they are paying the taxes. There are only 3 sections which cover the entire chapter of salary: section 15, section 16, and section 17, which I will show you. So it's theoretical as well as numerically relevant chapter. So before proceeding further, let me share with you the website now, and let me show you that what sections we are going to study in the topic of salary. Is the website of tax department visible? It is incometaxindia.gov.in. Acts. I have shown that chain how you can open it. So is this website visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, it is the website of tax department. Let me show you again. If you still don't know how we can go to these acts. This is the website of tax department, incometaxindia.gov.in. Here you go to these tax laws and rules. You click on acts, and from here you can select income tax act, which comes at the first point. This is income tax act. And these are chapters. Chapters of not my book, chapters of act, income tax act. So this is the income tax act as amended by Finance Act 21, because we have the latest Finance Act, which is 21. Next year after Feb, when we'll be having the Finance Act 22, so we can read the section as amended by Finance Act 22. So these are all previous Finance Acts given. Whenever you want to check any section, you can select that particular act, Finance Act, and this website will give you the provision which was applicable till that year. If you select, for example, as amended by Finance Act 2015, you will get that particular section which was applicable till 2015. But now I am selecting as amended by Finance Act 21 because I need the latest provision, chapter wise, and these are different chapters of the Income Tax Act. We have to do chapter 4 because chapter 4 is the lengthy chapter, or you can say lengthiest, one of the lengthiest, you can say. because it covers total income. If it says total income, it means salary, house property, PGBP, capital gain, other sources, everything is covered. So this chapter is having all heads. Section 14 gives you the name of heads. You can see section 14, heads of income. How do we know there are 5 heads? We know it because of section 14. Save as otherwise provided by this act, all income shall, for the purposes of charge of income tax and computation of total income, be classified under the following heads of income. So, salary, another head was there long ago, but it has been omitted. House property, profits and gains of business and profession, capital gains, and income from other sources. So this is what section 14, which tells me that there are 5 heads. So my first head is salary. So let us click salary. This is section 15, salaries. In section 16 also we have some deductions from salaries, and section 17 you can see the heading salary, perquisite and profits in lieu of salary defined. So definition is given in section 17. And after 17 we have section 22, which says income from house property. So we have a separate head now. So you can say that only in 3 sections the entire salary is over, section 15, 16 and 17. Within these 3, section 17 only tells you the definition. Section 16 only tells you the deduction. And section 15 gives you the base of salary, or it is the founding section of salary, you can say. Now, let me first show you the section 17, which tells you meaning of salary. I hope this screen is visible. So what is the heading of section 17? Salary, perquisite and profits in lieu of salary defined. Section 17. For the purposes of sections 15 and 16 and of this section, that means not only for the purpose of section 15 and 16 only, but in fact even for section 17, clause A, salary includes these things. Subclause 1, wages, annuity, gratuity, fees, advance of salary. This is related to some leave. I'm not reading the detail. It is related to some provident fund. It is related to new pension scheme. That's it. So there are 8 subclauses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5A, 6, 7 and 8. And clause 1 says salary includes. Can you tell me what do we mean by this includes? Why not salary means? Why rather than includes? Why the act has not written the word means? Is there any difference between these two? If I say salary means or salary includes, is there any difference between these two? Any answer?
Yes, sir.
Why not means is written?
The use of includes here shows that the given list of 8 items is not an exhaustive list, and there could be more such examples, but the salary includes all of these compulsorily. But this is not only it, there could be more examples to it.
Yes, 100% correct. Salary, had there been means word, salary means would have been that only these 8 are salary. When we read any subject of law, we don't see what is happening outside. We don't see what others talk about salary. We read that particular act. If I am reading Income Tax Act, I cannot say that salary means this also. No, Act says if salary is defined in your act, you apply that definition. If nothing is written in the Income Tax Act, then we search for other acts or other provisions. But if something is defined in the act, that will be applicable. So you might be saying that salary means that thing also or another thing also. Act says salary includes these. So whenever you study any subject of law, make sure that read the definition from that particular section first. If not written in that section, read the entire act then. Might be some definition is defined in other sections. So this is the sequence which you should follow. When I'm reading salary for the purpose of Income Tax Act, I found that there is a section 17 clause one which defines salary. And the word written is not salary means, it says salary includes. Had it been means, it means, or what it would have meant had there was a word means, that only these things are salary. Other than these, whatever is the figure, that is not salary. When includes word is written, it means these are by default salary, no doubt about it. But apart from these also, there may be other concepts of figures which might also be treated as salary, and those depends then on case to case basis. We'll check on case to case basis whether logically those can be included in salary or not. So this is the meaning of includes. Include means a wide term, a wider term, not wide, a wider term than mean. Means restrict your definition, includes open it up. Please raise your hand if this concept is clear, that in future you can tell whenever anyone asks means or includes, or even if no one asks, but you must know for your knowledge, when you've been practiced anywhere in any field, that includes is exhaustive. Not exhaustive, includes means so many things can be included, and it is not restrictive. Those who have understood the concept, please raise the hand. Okay, next point. So this is one thing. So it includes wages, etc. So many things, but other than these things, there can be other things also. This is first thing which I wanted to tell you. Now let me show you section 15. What section 15 says? It is the founding section. Whenever any head starts, whether salary, PGBP, house property, capital gain, other sources, first section logically will be the founding section, which will prepare the base for the entire chapter. Like what section 15 says. The following income shall be chargeable to income tax under the head salaries. Clause A. Any salary due from an employer or a former employer to an assessee in the previous year, whether paid or not. What my clause A says, that when your salary has become due, you have to include this as your income. You cannot say that I have not yet received the amount. Government says no, or Act says it does not matter whether you have received it or not. You might receive in future, but it has become due. Include this as your salary income and pay us the tax. For example, let me give you a simple example. Suppose the terms of my employer with me says that, suppose the terms of my employer with me says that my each month salary will become due on last day of each month, but will be given to me on 12th of next month. These are the agreement. Now these terms and conditions can differ between employer and employee. So there is no particular rule about it. I am doing some service with X Limited, and for example, X Limited said that when I joined my company, that when you work for 1 month, for any month, on the last day we will make sure that your salary has become due legally. So till that last day of the month come, I cannot argue with my company because my salary has not yet become due. It will become due on the last day. My company said to me that it will be paid to you on 12th day of next month. What section 15 clause A says? That on the last day of the month, your salary will be taxable. You as an employee cannot say that since I have not received the amount, it should not be taxable on the last day. It should be taxable on 12th of the next month. Act says no. If it has become due, you tax it on the same day when it has become due. It does not matter whether it is paid or not. This is first point. I will discuss this with the help of a numerical, where you have to attempt this numerical yourself. For the timing, I am simply clearing the concepts of theory. that the moment your salary has become due, it will be taxable. You cannot say that since I have not received it, you wait. No, government says tax is to be paid. Clause B is vice versa of clause A. What it says, any salary paid or allowed to him in the previous year by or on behalf of an employer or a former employer, though not due or before it became due to him. So now it is reverse than clause A. But it says, for example, my terms of the employment says that my each month salary will become due on 12th of next month, but it will be given to me on the last day of each month. Now, this situation normally does not happen. Normally in real life what happens is first salary will become due and then it will be paid. But let us assume that there are some employers who are willing to give some salary before it becomes due. Let us assume that those employers are still there. Some of the employers are still there who might pay to the employees salary before it has become due. So clause B says, if your salary has been given to you before it has become due, then you cannot say that, or then you cannot take the plea of clause A, or you cannot say that it is taxable when it will become due. No, Act says then you tax it when it has been given to you. So what clause A was saying, in clause A, my due date is before then receipt date, and on due date salary has become taxable. My clause B says the receipt date is before then the due date and salary has become taxable on receipt date. Are these 2 points clear? If yes, raise your hands. If not, don't raise. Okay, now can you simplify now clause A and B yourself? Or can you tell me that how can I simplify these clause A and clause B? Can you simplify clause A and clause B? That what should I say in simple terms?
Maybe, sir, outstanding salary and prepaid salary will both be included in it?
No. That is not the simplification. How can I simplify clause A and clause B? Or how, when I merge clause A and clause B, what result will come out logically? What language should be drafted to simplify clause A and clause B? Anyone who can explain? Who can make an attempt to explain?
Salary that has been paid or has become due for payment.
Salary?
Salary that was actually paid in the previous year or became due for payment in the previous year.
So complete the line. It's not the completion of line.
So any salary which was paid during the previous year or became due for payment in the previous year shall be treated as salary of that particular previous year.
Not 100% correct. Neither who can make an
Okay, so salary which became due, but even if it was paid or wasn't paid.
Might be correct, but I am looking for very simple line. Any other who can make an attempt? How can we simplify clause A and clause B?
The salary would be taxable whenever it is due or received, whether due or not, whichever is earlier of the two.
Yeah, that is correct. I can further simply say that salary is taxable on due basis or receipt basis, whichever is earlier. That's it. If agree, please raise your hand. So I can simplify. I'm simplifying clause A and clause B as salary becomes taxable on due basis or receipt basis, whichever is earlier. If agree, please raise your hand. You also wanted to say, I think, the same thing, but I was looking for the simplest line. Okay, when you read the act, so these things, that is why act is little bit known as technical, because act wants to cover each and every possibility. This one act is applicable for 135 crore people, or in fact more than 135 crore people, because even if a foreign citizen is ROR, that person also has to pay the tax. So act, that is why it looks technical, because this one document wants to cover every human being. So whenever act is written, it has to be written in such a way that it covers almost all the people under its provision. That is why you say that it is difficult. In reality, it is not. So this is first point. So let me now share the screen, because I wanted to show you the act. I wanted to give you an idea that what we will study. We will apply section 15 basically. And section 17 definitions, theoretically these are used. In 15, still one point is left, clause C. I hope still the screen is visible. And what clause C says, any arrears of salary paid or allowed to him in the previous year by or on behalf of an employer or a former employer, if not charged to income tax or any earlier previous year. Now, so many times we get arrears of salary also, especially in case of government sector. Every 10 years, in every 10 years, pay commission comes. Normally in 2006, 2016, 2026, 36, this is normally the chain. So whenever pay commission comes, they study and decide to increase the salary of the employees. But they give it after some time, because it takes some time for that committee to submit the report. Government will accept or reject that report. So many situations happen. So it's possible that, what is my year, 2020-21? It is possible that in 2020-21, I might receive some arrear of salary of last 5 years. It is possible that in 2020-21, I might receive some arrear of salary of last 5 years. Now the question arises, in which year this arrear of salary is taxable? Logically, it is related to last 5 years. But in last 5 years, it was not due, not paid. Why? Because no one knew whether it would be paid or not. But it is paid to you now. So clause C simply says that if any arrear of salary has not been taxed earlier, then you tax it when you receive it. That's it. Please raise your hand if clause C is also clear.
Sir, could you repeat it once?
Yeah, any arrear of salary, if not taxed earlier, any arrear of salary, if not taxed earlier, it will be taxable when you receive it. That's it. Now, let me give you some numericals for you to solve, and you try those. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
So we have only section 15, 16 and 17. Section 17 gives you definitions, only definitions, so no provision involved as far as numericals are concerned, but definition. It gives you deductions, and this is the foundation. Tells you what is basically taxable. Now, before proceeding further, first of all, you must know the format of computing salary. Just like I told you the format, of computing total income, where we add 5 heads: income under the head salary, house property, PGBP, capital gain, other sources. Total is gross total income less deductions under section 16. Then you get, sorry, less deductions under section 80. Then you get total income. That was the format of total income. But to compute the total income, each and every head also has its own format. How to compute salary, how to compute house property, how to compute PGBP, how to compute capital gain, how to compute income from other sources. Each and every head also has its own format. So let me tell you the format of salary now. Computation of income under the head salaries of an assessee for the assessment year 2021-22. Now, what you receive might not be taxable. What you receive might not be taxable because amount received is not your income. My income might be 10 lakh per year, but maybe I have taken some loan from my employer. So my employer will not give me 10 lakh. Might be he will deduct some outstanding loan amount from my salary. So I might be receiving rather than 10 lakh only 8 lakh rupees. So my income is not 8 lakh, income is 10 lakh, you are receiving 8 lakh. So you must be sure in one point that income received is of no use to you. You are not concerned with what you receive, you are concerned with what you have earned. So your first point is salary earned, not received, earned. And this earned amount is also so many times not fully taxable. Government or Act gives me some exemption. So I will deduct from this amount exempt. With this, I can say that the salary earned minus amount exempt is the taxable value. And this is monetary terms. Anything which has been received by you as an employee from the employer in cash or bank account directly, whatever, is known as monetary, where you have got some amount, might be in cash or in bank. It is monetary term. What you have received is of no use. What you should check, how much is your earning, and from this also you should check how much is exempt as per the provisions of Income Tax Act, because so many exemptions are granted under Income Tax Act. Government gives you exemptions. So this is the taxable value. Can you give me some examples of this? What can be included in this salary? Anyone who can give me some example, or any person who can tell me the examples of this point. These are monetary things. Any example what you can get from the employers as an employee in monetary terms? Any example which is coming in your mind that in monetary terms what we get from the employers?
So allowances.
Yeah, bonus is monetary. Yes.
Allowances.
Then all allowances. What are allowances? Allowances. Normally any payment from the employer to the employee to meet a specific expenditure is an allowance. Like bonus I can spend as an employee for any purpose, but allowances are given for to meet some particular purpose, like for meeting the children education needs. Might be my company is giving me allowances, so that will be known as children education allowance, where I should spend it only on education purpose. So I can spend it for anything, but intention of the employer behind giving is to make sure that the education is compensated indirectly from the employer's side. City compensatory allowance, whenever your job is shifted to any urban area from any semi-urban area, so your cost of living might rise. To compensate for that, city compensatory allowances are given, Siachen allowances. Armed officers who are posted in Siachen glaciers, they are getting extra allowance. Counter-insurgency allowance. In Maoist areas where we have the issues or problems of Maoist or Naxalite areas where the armed forces are posted, they are given some extra allowance because we have some extra threat as well as some risks. So these are so many things which are known as allowances, which are given for some particular purpose. Anyhow, these are also monetary. Any other thing which you think is monetary?
Wages.
Wages is monetary, yes.
Gratuity and pension.
So I can say retirement benefits. These are monetary. I might get these retirement benefits at the time of retirement, but these will be in cash or bank. So retirement benefits like pension, gratuity, provident funds, these are monetary. Any other?
Not sure. Paid leaves?
Paid leaves, that is also retirement benefit. That is known as leave encashment, that is also monetary. Any other monetary, or these are only monetary?
Sir, can commission come? Sir, can sales commission come like to the salesperson?
Yeah, of course. Why not? But you forgot the main thing, basic salary. Basic salary comprises more than 70% of total components. So basic is main, commission, etc. These are monetary. So how do we tax the value? First, we will check how much is received, and then we will check how much is exempt. Remaining, I will write in this outer column. Then we have non-monetary items also. Can you tell me what are non-monetary benefits? Which might not be in cash, but these are some benefits. Any example of non-monetary benefits?
Sir, housing.
Visits.
Any example of non-monetary benefits?
Perquisites.
Perquisite itself is non-monetary. So perquisite is not an example. It is another name of non-monetary benefit. When you say perquisite, it's nothing but another name of these three words. So I can say perquisites. But this is not the example. It is simply another name of non-monetary benefits. House. Accommodation is provided by the employer to the employee. It's a non-monetary benefit. Any other benefit, non-monetary?
Free health.
Some
Gifts.
medical facility.
Meals. Gifts and meals.
Gifts, yeah, is non-monetary. My employer can give me a watch, a laptop, free of cost. It's non-monetary.
Free healthcare.
Meals, yes. Then
Insurance.
insurance is non-monetary, yes. Then
Sir, commute.
education facility is non-monetary. To commute the distance, maybe my company has given me car facility, that is non-monetary. Any other?
The devices that he uses in his profession, for example, a laptop for an IT person.
Yeah, medical facility is perquisite. Use of laptop. Or not only laptop, I can say use of any movable asset. It can be fridge, TV, washing machine, anything can be given by my employer to me for use is non-monetary. Any other? Or that's it?
Internet facility.
So I can say telephone precisely. It includes internet also. Yes, that is non-monetary. Any other?
Free trips.
Meals is covered. Think and decide.
Correct, sir.
Yes. Any
Sir,
other example which you can think?
Like giving the employees company products.
Your voice is not coming. Can you speak loudly?
Sir, giving the employees the company's products.
For example,
Suppose we are a clothes manufacturer and we give them shirts, pants, example.
so
Luxury.
that is covered under gift or not?
Okay.
Any other?
So paid vacations.
Leave travel concession, I can say LTC, or home travel concession, I can say yes. Then
Sir, daycare.
yeah, daycare is also crèche facility for the babies of employee. So daycare is also everything. Any other? Issue of sweat equity shares or employee stock option plan. Any other? Interest-free loan. Loan might be looking monetary, but interest free. This is the benefit. Had I took the loan from market, I would have paid some interest. For example, my employer says that to take 5 lakh loan, don't give me the interest. Later on, you simply return back my 5 lakh. So this interest component is technically a non-monetary benefit. Had I gone to the market, I would have paid some interest, which I'm not giving right now. So this is a perquisite. Now, can you tell me, or can you think logically, can I use the same sentence which I have written above here also? The same sentence, salary earned minus amount exempt. Is it logical to write the same sentence here? Can I write it? Can I write it here? That how do we compute this taxable value of non-monetary benefits? Can I write it as salary, this non-monetary benefit earned minus amount exempt? Can I write it? Can you think logically? Can you think logically? Answer is no, it's not possible to write because you don't know how much you have earned. You don't know how much is your monetary value. So if you don't know how much you have earned, how do you know how much is exempt? So first you have to compute how much you have earned in monetary sense. Then you have to compute how much is exempt in monetary sense. Then you will get to know taxable. So rather than first computing how much non-monetary benefit you have earned, or first simply converting non-monetary benefit into monetary, then computing again exempt to get taxable value, why not to directly compute taxable value? Why not to directly compute taxable value of non-monetary benefits? Are you getting my point? In case of non-monetary benefits, I will not write non-monetary benefit earns minus amount exempt because I don't know how much is earned. I simply got some benefit. What is the value in monetary terms that I have to compute? So why not to directly compute the taxable value of non-monetary things? Please raise your hand if you have understood this point. In monetary, I use the word earned minus exempt, but in non-monetary, I will not say earned minus exempt. Directly, I will compute taxable value. Please raise your hand if this point is understood. Very good. Now, total of these gives me what? Gross salary. Total of this gives me what? Gross salary. This total is gross salary. From this, I get deduction. Can you tell me under which section I will get deduction? Deductions under section
16.
16. From while computing total income, I was getting deduction under section 80. But while computing salary income, the section is different. concepts are different. So my deduction here is not section 80. Section 80 deduction is not given from salary. It is given from all 5 heads. Total of all 5 heads. But from salary only, I will get a deduction, separate provisions, that is section 16. And this is the final answer. It is known as income under the head salary. This final value will go to that final column where I will compute my total income. This is my income under the head salaries. Please raise your hand if you have understood the format of salary.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, how do we calculate the value of taxable value of non-monetary benefits directly?
That will take some time for you to wait.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so those items are having provisions. Gift is having different rule, meal is having different rule, house is having different rule, getting car is having different rule, medical different, laptop different, movable asset different, daycare different, telephone different, sweat equity share different. Every such conversion requires different or separate rule to be studied. Now, let me give you some questions, small or easy numericals for you to solve. Is this slide visible still?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You solve some numericals. Let me give you some numericals. And you tell me the answer then. So let me discuss an example from my book. Concept building approach by me. Page number 4.2. Now, what is this example? You simply listen. X is an employee who joined a job on 1st June 2020, and the salary of this person was 80,000 per month. Now, agreement terms of the employer and X says that salary will become due on last day of each month, and it will be paid on 7th day of next month. That's it. My question is, can you tell me the salary which is taxable in the previous year 2021? How much salary will be taxable in the previous year 2021? This answer I need. How much salary is taxable in the previous year 2021?
So
Anyone who
8
can?
lakhs,
How?
because he joined on June, and his salary will be due for 10 months on 31st March 2021.
No. Salary will not be due for 10 months on 31st March. On 31st March, only salary of March 21 is due. Okay, I should not use this word that salary is due on 31st March for 10 months. On each last day of each month, salary is becoming due. Is it clear?
Yes,
Is
sir.
this clear or not? So out of due and paid, which date is early? Last day. So due date is early. So I can say June 2020 salary is taxable on 30th June. And similarly, the chain goes on. July 20 salary is taxable on 31st July. And similarly, March, you continue with each and every month. March 2021 salary is becoming taxable on 31st March 21. So all these months, March, July, June, these all are in my year, previous year 2021. So I can say that June to March salary, June 20 till March 21 salary. This period salary is taxable in the same year. So it is 80,000 into 10, 8 lakh. Please raise your hand if this concept is clear. Any doubt, you please ask. Okay, so most of you have understood. Any problem, please ask. Otherwise, I am proceeding to the next example. Now, similar line, you tell me the answer of next example. Again, from my book, Concept Building Approach. And this example is given on page, same page, 4.2. So this illustration says X joined a job on 1st August 2020 at a monthly salary of 50,000 per month. Terms of the employment says that salary will be paid on last day and it will become due when 10th of next month. Now I want to ask a question that how much is taxable value of salary for the previous year 2020-21? Take your time and then tell me the answer. How much will be taxable in the previous year 2021?
4 lakh.
Yes, 4 lakh is the answer. How you have arrived at 4 lakh? Which is early, paid or due? Which is early?
Paid.
That means on the same, in the same month it will be taxable. If it is the salary of August 20, it will be taxable when? On 31st August 20. Similarly, if it is the salary of September 20, it will be taxed when? 30th September 20. If it is the salary of, you go on like this, and if it is the salary of March 21, it will be taxable on 31st March 21. Again in the same month. So all these months in which it is taxable, these are of my year 2021. So I can say that the salary taxable will be from August 2020 till March 21. And that will be 8 months multiplied by 80,000. Multiplied by 50,000. 4 lakh. Is this concept clear? If yes, raise your hands. Otherwise, don't raise. Those who have understood this point, that how 8 lakh is arrived at, please raise your hands. Okay. Others who are not raising, so you should practice or ask me the doubt. Or it's also possible that you are having some issues in your hand raising. So I cannot exactly know whether you have understood or not. If not, better you ask me. And don't hesitate in asking any doubt. last example, and then we will wind up today's session. Again, now I'm discussing another example from again my book. Because I will discuss the examples from my book, I have copyright, so I can discuss freely. Example from my book, Concept Building Approach. Page number is 4.4. X is employed with K Limited and salary till 30th June. Salary till 30th June, or I should not use 30th June, I can simply write June also. Till 30th June, I can simply write June also. Salary till 30th June was 50,000 per month. And thereafter, after this, it has become 60,000 per month. This is one different point. Now we have two salaries in 1 year as far as amount is concerned. Terms of the agreement says that it will become due on first day of next month and it will be paid when? It will be paid to me on 7th day of next month. Think logically. And now you again tell me the answer that how much salary is taxable in the previous year 2020-21. How much is taxable? This is the answer I need. Take your time and then do.
So 6,30,000.
6 lakh?
30,000. 630.
Wrong.
6 lakh 80,000.
6 lakh? Your voice is not clear.
6 lakh 80,000.
Yeah, 680 is correct answer. Now everyone try to see, are they getting 680 or not? I will explain when everyone makes an attempt. 680 is the correct, but raise your hands only when you are getting 6 lakh 80. Presentation matters, not the answer only. You must know how 680 has come. So when you get 680, please raise your hands. Only 9 have got 680, so others please try. Okay, raise the hands if you have got the answer, whether 680 or 640. Raise your hands if you are getting the answer, whether 680 or 640. At least I get an idea that how many of you got the answer or how many of you computed it. I will explain how 680, but raise your hands if you are getting the answer of 680 or 640, whatever. Okay, most of you are getting the answer, getting the value, but 680 is the correct. Now, can you explain the person who has explained 680? How 680?
Yes, sir. Since the due date is first of the every month of the next month, so in the previous year there would be 1st of April, which would be having salary due for the previous month. That is, though the salary due would be for previous year, but since it becomes due in the current previous year, so we will add it here. So on 1st of April, the first salary becomes due. Then on 1st of May, then 1st of June. So on. We have 4 months for 50,000 per month. Then the remaining 8 months we have 60,000 salary.
So that means you are correct. Month My year starts on April 20. This everyone knows. My year starts on April 20. In this month's salary, the salary was 50. Now due and receipt, which is early? Due or receipt? Due. But still that will go to next month. This is the issue. So if I check due or receipt, which is early? The taxable is due date. So taxable becomes due date because due is early, but still it will go to the next month. So my April 20 salary will become taxable in on 1st May 20. Similarly, May 20 salary will become taxable on 1st June 20. June 20 salary will become taxable on 1st July 20. But can you notice something? The month of March 20, as a layman, I can say that it is not in my year. If you don't talk to me for the purpose of income tax act, I will say that no, March 20 is not in my year. But when as an expert of tax you study the provision, you will say that your March salary is not taxable in March 20. It was not taxable last year because it will become taxable in April 20, and April 20 is in your year. I hope the point is clear. On this basis, I can say that April 20 is in my year, May 20 is in my year, June 20 is in my year, July 20 is my year, or I am checking this taxable word, taxable. On this basis, I can say that salary from March 20 till June 20. I might be taxing this salary on 1st April, but this 1st April taxability amount is not of April, it is of March. You might be taxing March salary in April, but you should write that it is the salary of March, not April. So March 20 till June 20, for these 4 months, salary is 50,000 into 4, which is 2 lakh. Similarly, July salary, which is 2020 July salary is 60,000, and it is taxable on which date? 1st August 20. And similarly, on this basis, you can say Feb salary is taxable on 1st March, which is again in my year, but March 21 salary is not taxable in March. It will be taxable on 1st April 2021, and it is not in my year. It will go in the previous year 21-22. So I will say that this March 21 salary is not taxable in my year. Then I will call it as July 2020 till Feb 21. The presentation should be like this: 60,000 into 8. You cannot write what? Let me show you what you cannot write. Some of you might have got the correct answer 680, but they might have written April 20 till March 21. They might have written in this way: 50,000 into 4 plus 16 to 8. It is wrong. You cannot write April 20 to March 20. These are the taxing months. In reality, salary does not belong to these months. Salary belongs to March 20 till Feb 21. This is what you should write. Answer you might get, but we need exact presentation. In reality, April 20 and March 21, these months are our taxing months, which are in my year, which should be in my year. But I'm not taxing the salary of these months. I'm taxing the salary of March 20 till Feb 21. Please raise your hand if the concept is clear. If not clear, ask me the doubts. If clear, raise your hands. So that's all from my side. So let us wind up the session today. Attendance we will I will note in the next class. So that's all. Goodbye.